Hey everyone, my name is Deborah J, Intrepid Explorer of the Mind, Body and Soul, and it's been a while since I've made a video, and I decided that I'd make one today because I've had a couple of things rolling around my brain and I said that I'd share it with you. So recently I have been keeping myself busy because I've started a brand new podcast called Intrepid Wisdom, which is available on all major podcast platforms. So go check that out. It's intrepidwisdom.com. You'll actually be able to check out the episodes there. So that's been keeping me really busy. And with that, I have been interviewing some really incredibly interesting people. This is a project that I just kind of rambled across. It's been in my mind for a long time, and it just kind of came together a few weeks ago, and I'm just loving it. I'm really loving it. Now, since then, I have been busy doing that, but I have also been going through a bit of a wobble, and I'm a little bit all over the place. And more recently, I've kind of gone from being, totally zen, chilled out, and everything's okay, to kind of being all confused, to being back to zen and okay, and everything's okay, to being kind of like confused and lost again. And the whole process is kind of very up and down, up and down, up and down. So, what I decided to do was I took a look at the astrology side of things, because astrology is something that came to me a couple of years ago. I knew about it. Look, everybody knows about, check out the magazines and back of the paper and you have your sun sign and whatever. And I kind of passed no heed of it for a long time, to be honest with you. But in the last couple of years, after I went to an astrologer here in Dublin. She's absolutely amazing. And having gone to her, I was like, oh my God, wow. Like my mind just blew open because she was so accurate. And it's not even that she was accurate, she just is very good at reading charts. She's very intuitive anyway. But what I realized is there's a science behind astrology. The stars and the planets and where we are, they're moving in a slightly predictable fashion and pattern, and that allows us to be able to look back from where they've come from and look forward to where they're going to, and it allows us to see where we are now. And I just fell in love with it, and I can't describe it any other way other than to say, for some reason I just get it. And when I say I just get it, it's like when I hear what's going on in the planets at the moment, when I hear astrologically anything that's kind of going on, or people talking about astrology or talking about different signs, it makes so much sense to me. I can see it, I can feel it, I can almost touch it, but yet I haven't learned astrology well enough to the point that I can repeat it back to you clearly. But so it's a bit strange. I can understand it, but I can't yet verbalize it. And it's just where I am in my own learning process. But I absolutely love it. And during lockdown, I decided to basically delve deeper into it and use that time to study a lot more astrology and get better meanings and understandings, and specifically regarding things like life purpose and, life in general and kind of direction, and how to use your chart to essentially guide you towards what it is that you're supposed to be doing with your life. And I found it incredibly helpful. That doesn't mean I've solved everything by any means, but I found it really helpful. And I definitely recommend anybody to go to astro.com, astro.com, and type in your name, your date of birth, the city where you were born, and the exact time, if you can, of when you were born. And it'll bring up a natal chart, and that natal chart will show you where all your placements are for, you've 12 houses, you've 12 zodiac signs. Some people will have a ton of planets in particular houses and signs, others won't, others will be empty in particular planets and signs. And what I find fascinating is it's like a thumbprint. It's everybody's chart is completely different. Apparently, even twins, if they're born roughly around the same time, obviously one after the other, even their charts are going to be different because, they'll be off by a few minutes or whatever in terms of the time they were born. So we really have our own thumbprint to work with, and certain planets influence certain houses differently. So for me, one thing that I've been looking at a little bit more closely has been the North Node. So the North Node really is, it's kind of, it's probably not the right term, but I would call it like your North Star. It's kind of telling you what your mission is in this life, what you're meant to be doing. And then, looking at other placements. So for me, for argument's sake, I have Mercury, and I have Mercury in the ninth house. So that for me is about communications over groups and using communication as my tool or my business as such. Now, this is interesting because recently I started my podcast, and I started this podcast more so as a means of communicating to wisdom seekers and wisdom keepers. I am a wisdom seeker and a wisdom keeper. I absolutely crave learning. I crave knowledge. I crave to understand our purposes here, our passions here. What are we doing on this planet? I'm always desperately trying to make sense of what this whole thing is about. And for me, it'll be an endless journey, because until I take my last breath, I won't have figured this place out really. But I want to do the best that I can while I'm here, to live the best life that I can, to be the best person that I am. And with that, when we're dead, we're dead. My dad died in 2015, and at the time I was studying hypnotherapy and psychotherapy. He was a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist. We were all poised and ready to take over the world. I was going to take over his clinic, and then he died suddenly on Christmas Eve 2015, and it rocked my world, and it really made me aware of how fragile life is, how short a period of time we're really here. And as we were clearing out his office, I remember looking at the trinkets and treasures that he had from clients that clients had given him as a thank you present, which meant nothing to us. They meant something to him, but they meant nothing to us. And so the saying of one man's trash is another man's treasure was the opposite way around in this case. It was one man's treasure was another man's trash. And I guess really what I had learned was, when we were clearing out his office, and I was meant to, he's meant to mentor me, and I was supposed to step into his shoes regarding the hypnotherapy and psychotherapy, and he wasn't finished mentoring me by any means. And it just struck me how when we die and we're buried, all that information that we learned throughout our whole entire lives goes into the ground, or it's cremated, whatever method, and essentially it's gone forever. And unless we're passing on our memories, our experiences, our life lessons, our wisdom to the next generation, there is nothing left of us. I would challenge everybody looking at this to think about who your great 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 grandparent is. Do you know them? Because I don't know mine. And yeah, you may know them if you've done your family tree and looked back through your family history, but do you know them? Do you know anything about their character? Do you know what their favourite hobbies were? Do you know any funny stories from when they were alive? If they're a famous person, you might, but if they're not, if they're just normal Joe Soap, you're not going to really know anything. And what I'm saying to you is, we too are going to be those great 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 grandparents, or great 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 aunts, or whatever it is, if we don't have kids, or if we do have kids, whatever. And someday people will not know who you are, and all the shit that you've accumulated throughout your whole entire life, all the stuff that you've been working for, to to make your home pretty, to the clothes that you wear, to things that we buy. I'm not saying that there's anything bad with this. I'm not one of these like, oh, you're going to hell because you like nice things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if we're so focused on these and not aware of the bigger picture, they're all kind of pointless. And really, what I feel we need to do is we all need to wake up a little bit and realize that, people say, oh, we're not here for a long time and all the rest of it. And that doesn't really make much difference to most people. Most people just go live their life and that's it. And then they die. When I was standing in that office and realised that my dad was buried and all the knowledge in his head was now gone and I couldn't access it anymore. And when I realised that all his memories were gone and all the funny stories that we used to talk about were gone, when I realised that I had, when you die, all these trinkets that he couldn't take them with him, it just made me aware that really the only thing in life that we have to pass on, the only legacy that we can pass on, that we can be remembered for without having our names attached to it, is wisdom. You can, if you're going to be somebody who's famous and whatever, that's grand. At some point in life, even if you're famous, people are going to forget about you, unless you're written down in a history book somewhere. But for us Joe Soaps who want to have some relevance or purpose or point of being on this planet, I feel the only thing that we can really do is send ripples into the future of who we are. And it shows that we're not even our name. We're not even, the things that we own. We're not the jobs that we have. We're not the people that, the names that we have on ourselves. We're not. We're none of those things, because when they're forgotten, they're forgotten. However, the love that we have and that we share with other people in this lifetime, that's what can ripple forward. So my dad was a therapist. I know for a fact he helped so many people in his lifetime to change the direction of their life, to course correct where it was that they were going, to let go of grievances, to forgive hurt and wrongdoings that were done with them. And being able to forgive and let go and take control of your own life and move forward with that can have huge consequences and effects for the future generations to come. There's a lot of generations that have gone before us and they carry the baggage of their generation, and they carry the baggage of their generation, and they carry the baggage of their generation, and it goes back and back and back and back and back. And I feel that our current generation, or anybody who's watching this video, the only thing that we can do let me put it a different way. If you could give one gift to all those that go after you and all those who have gone before you, the best gift that you can give all those people is by letting go of the hurt and traumas and the baggage that we carry. So, my grandparents, my great-grandparents wouldn't have been able to have the tools, the freedom of speech, the freedom of thought, to be able to, forgive their parents for treating them badly, or for not showing them enough love, or for, neglecting them, or allowing abuse to happen, or whatever it is. So, your grandparents, your great grandparents, they had tough lives, no doubt. They were in tough times. There was a Second World War, and they had to go through famines and recessions and all the stuff that we face really in our own lifetime to some extent also. And they were very closed off people to a large extent. And we are a generation that have the tools and ability to change that. And if we don't change that, we carry the same baggage into the next generation. And then the next generation get an opportunity to heal our wounds by letting it go. And, it continues on and continues on until somebody kind of says, you know what, I am the way that I am because I'm carrying baggage from my past, but I can let it go, and I can choose to let it go. And I feel if we live in purpose for being able to change the past and change the future, it's by the simple act of compassion and love. And being aware of the things that we do in our life, being aware of how we are in our life, being aware of our interactions with people, being aware of the grudges that we hold, being aware of, when we're stressed out and, how we react around other people. If we can become really conscious of all these things and not blame them on other people and take more responsibility, we would live a healthier, happier life. Now, this is all well and good in practice and in theory, but should I say practice can be a little bit more difficult. And this is where I feel astrology can come in and can be really, really helpful, because astrology will tell you that certain planets are in certain houses doing certain things at certain times. So for argument's sake, the moon. The moon has a huge effect on us. When there's a full moon, we feel the energy of it really, really intensely. When we have a full moon in particular houses with particular Saturn or with particular planets having aspects and effects on that moon and where we are and what house it's in and what your star sign is and all this kind of thing, when we realize that there's so much more to astrology than just reading a star sign in a newspaper, we can begin to understand why our moods are a certain way at a certain time, and we can be a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more self-loving, and a little bit more gentle with ourselves. And that awareness of how the planets work, combined with the awareness of how the planets work with our emotions, combined with present awareness, compassion, love and understanding and acceptance for where we are at that moment, knowing when to push forward and knowing when to step back, is really, really important. And I'm a big lover of herbal medicine also, and I truly believe that if we were to understand, this sounds like a lot, but it's not if you're interested in it. If you're not interested in it, just listen and take in whatever you want out of it. But essentially what I'm saying is, if you look at astrology and how it affects us, and take simple things like herbal medicine. Herbal medicine, it's natural, it's working with nature is working with the universe, and it's like this symbiotic, beautiful symbiotic relationship. If we knew how to use herbs at different times of our life, different times of, the month for us women when we're menstruating, like I'll show you. I don't know if you can see it, clary sage. The light is really, really bad. So clary sage, it's not going to work, is it's an essential oil. And right now I have been feeling really, really intense emotions and really, really crazy emotions over the last month, really. And definitely over the last couple of days, I was like, woo! And what I noticed was the moon. I was like, oh, there's a full moon. So the full moon definitely had an effect on me. And then I just looked up some astrology as to what was going on now. I went onto YouTube and I checked out some videos, and the way I do my own research is I check out a number of videos so that the information that I feel is correct and relevant is crossing over, and then I'll do some research online, etc. And what I found is right now we have Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter are all sitting in Capricorn. That's 3 planets, are like 3 very intense planets are sitting in Capricorn, and it's right across from our moon, and where our moon is, as far as I know, I think the moon is in Leo at the moment, and our sun sign is in Leo going into Virgo. So there's like a lot happening, and there's also a lot of the other planets in the other houses, and they're kind of all having these aspects and trines and conjunctions with each other. And when you understand astrology, that for argument's sake now, I'm like, okay, so I'm not losing the plot and I'm not going completely crazy. There's a full moon, so it's having an effect on of the intensity of the emotions that I'm feeling. I am also, I'm about a week off menstruation, so that's having a big effect. So you've got PMS mixed in with that, but actually I don't really ever suffer massively from PMS. But I was like this month going, have I got PMS? Of course I do, because the moon, there was a full moon, it's really strong. And also these other planets are like all really, really intense at the moment. So I was able to have a bit more compassion with myself, rather than feeling that I am losing the plot, going off the rails, I'm just broken, which, to be honest with you, before I started using my brain and was a little bit more mindful about what was going on, I had a day where I was just sobbing and crying, and I was like, what is going on? Like, all the hard work that I've been doing through the years is all wasted, and oh, woe is me, and I'm a total victim, and I'm all broken, and nothing will ever be right, and la la la, little violin. Little violin, but with compassion. So as I said, then I looked at my astrology and I was like, oh, that's why I'm all over the place. And this video might be a little bit all over the place, but for me, that's okay, because that's just the way things are at the moment. But I actually started to use clary sage, and then also I started to use, again, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but I started to use, you can't see it, it's called Vertivert. It's called Vetivert. So Vetivert, Vetivert oil. And it smells almost like burnt wood. And it's really, really grounding, like really grounding. So at the moment I feel everything's very heady and kind of all over the place and very scattered, and I'm finding it hard to focus. And the Vetivert is really, really helpful for that. And all I do is just smell it. Sometimes I'll put it onto a handkerchief and I bring it to bed with me. Other times I will dab it on my wrist or on my hands. Sometimes I might mix it into a hand cream. But generally I actually quite often carry these oils around in my pocket, and when it comes to herbal medicine, you could be taking things like lavender or, lemon. Oh my God, lemongrass. Lemongrass is so good. Or lemon balm, or citronella. Maybe not citronella, it's a little bit strong. Or even yang yang. I have yang yang here as well, which is really, really nice. So, as I said, I don't think it'll pick it up on the camera, it's just not working. But Yang Lang is YLANG, and it's so good. So I find that the Vetivert, patchouli is another one, and clary sage and Yang Yang, these are all ones that I go to, and I feel the best way that you can use these oils personally is even just by having the bottle and smelling it, and to know which one is right for you at the right time. What I would say is just open each of the bottles, take a smell of them, see which one makes you go and if it makes you feel like you go, like, take that big relaxing sigh, then that's the one that your body needs right now. If you smell one of them and you're like, that does nothing really for me, then it's not for you. So I definitely recommend having some essential oils on hand and using them to balance your emotions, to ground you. The other thing that you can do when you're feeling a little bit all over the place with intense planets and moons and everything kind of changing and shifting like it is at the moment, with the month of August being quite an intense month of August is very much a month of, ooh, that makes sense, oh no it doesn't, ooh, that makes sense, oh no it doesn't. And it's like this kind of push-pull of our ideals and who we are and what our beliefs are, and really what it's doing is it's encouraging us to come back into center. I feel the one thing that I keep learning over and over and over again over the last couple of months has been when I don't know what to believe anymore, whether it's the mainstream or the alternative side of media or, the narratives that are going on. When I'm just so too far down the rabbit hole and when I feel either fearful or confused, I find the best thing to do is to just meditate or just come back into center, just come back into the now and be like, okay, this is real. This moment is real. And if I know nothing else other than this moment is real, then that's all I need. And just keep coming back to yourself into center. And so that's essentially what my video has been about today. It's literally just like, I just felt like I needed to share. It's been a while since I did one of these videos. I've been doing a lot of the Intrepid Wisdom podcast videos and podcasts. So as I said, I've been very busy doing that and not doing as many of these videos. the one thing astrologically I keep coming back to over and over again, and it's like I keep being told, no matter who I ask, who I go to about my charts, my star signs, not star signs, but my reading my natal chart and trying to figure out what my next step is going to be. Constantly for me, what keeps coming back is using my voice to convey my own messages on spirituality, on my own beliefs, on things that I feel are important for people to know that maybe people don't know. And I don't know whether this is helpful for you. All I can do is share and hope that it maybe inspires you the way it's inspired me. I know astrology, even though there's so much to know and I feel overwhelmed by how much there is to learn, I feel somewhere in my DNA it's part of my journey because it makes so much sense, and yet I've so much to learn with it. And I think for me, it definitely helps me to feel like I can course correct myself. I find that using the essential oils are a way of grounding myself. They're a way of bringing me back into center, into some sort of calm. I find herbal medicine, in terms of the herbalism side of things, using different plants, like even down to eating root vegetables, herbal medicine, yes, it's about herbs, but it's also about plant medicine. Plant medicine even is down to eating your dinners with root vegetables because they are based under the ground and they root you, they ground you. So right now I've been working on incorporating more root vegetables into my diet because that too is going to ground me. So for me, because I feel like I'm up here too much, it's just that I need to come back down. Other people might feel overgrounded, and if you feel overgrounded, then you need to look at eating kind of lighter, fresher, less heavy foods. So not root vegetables, like things that grow over the ground, like even salads and fruits and whatever. And in terms of oils that you could be using, definitely if you're feeling like you're too grounded, you could be looking at things like lavender, or even the ylang ylang is actually quite uplifting. Geranium, rose, any of the lighter, fresher scents can help you with that as well. And then in terms of your astrology, keep your eye on, go to your natal chart, go to astro.com and type in your details and check out your natal chart. And it's not going to make sense to you straight away. It doesn't need to. Once you have your natal chart, you can start going onto YouTube or online and start looking up things like your north node, or what does your 8th house mean, or your 6th house, or where all your planets are. If all of your planets are in the 12th or the 1st house, start looking up what is the 12th house, what is the 1st house. Don't feel so overwhelmed. You're not going to know it straight away. So that's all I've got to say. It was a longer video because it's been a while since I was back on here, but I hope this has been helpful in some way. And if it has, I'd love to hear your comments below. And don't forget to check out my website, deborahjkelly.com, or you can also check out my podcast on intrepidwisdom.com. Talk to you soon. Bye.